As we know, creative research is imperative as part of our creative strategy process and is the difference between an ad not working and an ad working. And that's why I absolutely love Foreplay, which is today's sponsor. If you run a D2C brand, you know what is at stake. If we don't do the right research and creative strategy, it can really impact the performance of our creative. We use Foreplay every single day and it's become this holistic tool for all things creative strategy. And that's what I love about it. They are so aggressive and bullish on product and innovating product. We use this, as I said, as part of spying on competitor ads, building inspiration boards for different stages within the performance funnel. We also use their AI briefing system to craft the best possible ads for the brands that we work with in the most efficient way that we can. And genuinely, it is a big reason why we've been able to scale these brands to 6, 7, 8+ figure run rates. What I love about Foreplay is it completely centralizes the full end-to-end process. So before, where you were going to Google Drive or Notion or building these inspiration boards in different places in ways that weren't visual, weren't efficient, now you have it all centralized within one single location. It's just great to see where Foreplay has come. Like, we were one of the beta users on this platform when it first launched, and just seeing its progression and how it's optimized through the years to keep on top of delivering the best possible product to the market is fascinating to see. So if you want to see how the best D2C brands in the space use Foreplay every single day as part of their process, head over to foreplay.co now. You can find that link down below and use the code D2C Diaries at checkout for 20% off for life. Yeah, you heard that right, for life. So this is a crazy deal. Click the link below now to get it for yourself. And if I'm going to end it on anything, it's this. When you use Foreplay, you become more creative, not just productive. See you in the episode.
The brand that we've started running this on, our first batch of creative, they had a record day within, I think, 4 days of launching the assets. So it did about 200K in a day. So you had a bit of a fiasco in New York, didn't you?
I had a fiasco getting to New York. Waking up at 6 a.m, rolling over and looking at your phone and seeing Heathrow on fire is like a proper fever dream vibe. Like, what are the chances of it happening on the day that I was going to fly there?
Yeah, so for context, Heathrow entirely shut down for, was it 24 hours or 12 hours?
Power grid burst into flames for like the full day, cancelled every flight, and had to go to Birmingham, then to Dublin, then to New York. It's just...
That's wild.
Nightmare.
I'm surprised you were even able to get a flight. I guess you just probably booked it quick.
Lucy sorted it out, yeah. It was a bit of a challenge. But they were going for like $8,000 for we obviously didn't pay that. I wouldn't have paid that. But like, we found like the only cheap flight left from Dublin the next day. But it was crazy. They were going like, every time you refresh, they'd be going up by like £300-400. We got there. It was good fun.
Nice. Well, yeah, we're actually in a different setup today. New space, because essentially, long and short of it, was just took us too long to get to and from our old podcast studio. So yeah, we're leveling up.
Yeah, it was like an hour and 40 minutes round journey, which was, I just value my time too highly to do that consistently.
Like including the podcast, it probably took 3.5 hours out of our day at least, so probably more.
We've leveled up the production quality. It's a good excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Now that the sponsors are coming in, thick and fast. But yeah, welcome back to another episode of D2C Diaries. Just to kick us off today, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and comment. We are going to be doing a breakdown later in the episode about how one of our creatives, essentially within 7 days of launching for one of our clients, has generated like over 120K in revenue. Crazy growth for this particular client. But we're going to break down how we used AI in our process to do that by transforming organic creative into a paid ad asset. I'm going to give you all of the prompts as part of that. So when we get to that point, make sure you're on YouTube, you're subscribed, and comment prompt down below, and we'll be sending it to everyone that is subscribed.
You can comment on Shopify, Spotify now as well. So
yeah, you can. That is true, on Spotify as well. But obviously you want to see our faces, so definitely go to YouTube as well.
Yeah. I feel like there's only one place to start this week with the massive tidal wave that swept through Twitter and e-commerce just yesterday, actually. ChatGPT's image update.
Yeah, pretty wild. I don't think I've ever seen Twitter become so fixated on a single topic before. Like genuinely, I was scrolling through my feed the last 2 nights and every single post was just about this new ChatGPT update.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like some of the stuff people were coming up with was crazy as well. Like some of the, like, I saw an Udi. I saw a Statue of Liberty wearing an Udi. I saw a Jaguar ad with 4 Jaguars sat in the car. I saw a Lynx Africa cat spraying Lynx Africa on itself in the jungle. Like it's nuts. Like the creativity and just like the ability to execute on ideas that would have taken so long before. It's just so fast.
Yeah, it's crazy. I guess for context, like obviously ChatGPT have now come out with an update where it can essentially, utilizing a product asset or an existing image or a single prompt, it can recreate that or put that into a scene, a setting. And obviously we used to have DALL-E, well, still do have DALL-E, which was like a prompted image generator through AI. But this really takes it to another level, because we were using that previously and then we would have to take those images, then create them, bring them into a creative within Illustrator and Photoshop. Now you can essentially do everything just with a single prompt.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to look at like how people are getting the best output from it. But the craziest thing about it for me is that the model images that it can generate. Like the product stuff is cool, and like the ability to take a picture of a product and make it into like a product render, which would have cost loads of money previously, and loads of time previously. I think that's cool. But some of the model stuff where you can ask it to take literally a product image and just describe the type of person you want, the way they're holding the products, the setting and everything, it's just like perfect, is pretty wild. It's like completely changes renderers' career. Like if you were a product renderer and like product photography was like the main thing you do, I feel like it's will have had a big impact on that like overnight. And the same with like photo shoots for products and like model shots. It's just nuts.
Yeah,
to see that.
Design, everything. It's scary. It's changed. Yeah. It's going to change a lot. And I think, what essentially a lot of these roles are going to become is just like you need to be really good at just prompt engineering, essentially, which I think is why, rather than what a lot of people, especially creatives, have done before this point, is kind of push back against AI. Really, the people that will win are going to be a fusion of a great designer, using that role as an example, but then be very good also at prompt engineering.
Yeah, it's that human in the loop, isn't it? Like human in the AI loop. And I think that'll be the shift. Like that's gonna dictate like ability to earn, like the income potential of individuals, and like the output should make those people who are able to capitalize on it even more efficient and their impact even greater. But I think it's like certainly shows how important it is to kind of embrace that and face it head on.
I think one thing we're already doing, which whether you're a brand, whether you're an agency, I think what it unlocks is the ability for people that didn't have design capabilities, if they've got an iteration request, rather than having to wait on a designer, they can take that best performing creative, essentially just put it into ChatGPT and say, can you recreate this, but with this headline? And within 8 seconds, it will do that.
Yeah, I think iteration's really interesting. I think what it's not great at when you're generating net new assets is text. I think you're better to generate the image, take it to Figma and put the text in, because like I almost think the prompting to get the text right takes too long.
The text is just weird. Sometimes it just like is almost
spacing's off or like placement's off. It's really good at taking other companies' ads and transposing your product and branding over them and swapping it out, which I think is interesting when you're thinking through the lens of like new product launches, new brand launches. I think that iteration piece is even more interesting if you can remove the need for someone to do that manually, and you can just plug in the data and a trigger point which pushes the asset out and then pushes it back with the iteration. You can just re-upload that to the ad account, which I think is the next stage that we're starting to look at. Crazy.
I think what it did do on Twitter is it exposes those that don't have much taste.
Yes.
People are like almost flexing about these things they've created. I'm like, that looks like shit.
Yeah. I think that it just unlocks that level of like, really just bring creativity into focus, like, and that creativity and taste, two things that it's really hard to like engineer if you don't have them, and build if you don't have them, and hard for AI to replicate, I think. How have you been getting the best output out of it, in terms of, because like the way that I've been using it is through like using Claude to support with prompt generation and then putting the prompts into ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. I think similarly with like script writing, prompt Claude is better for copywriting, for script writing, similarly with putting those prompts in. But even so, like, I don't think I've been still being able to generate strong prompts just through ChatGPT. I don't think you necessarily need to be taking that extra layer necessarily. Do you think the things that are important is almost like if we're putting ads in, outlining what is the goal of the ad, the main message or offer, the brand name and tone, text or CTA, preferred dimensions is another one. And then obviously any specifics that we need to align with on the brand. But I think the beauty with the way that, again, it's like what makes an input versus an output really effective is almost the base level data that it already has, which is why I think if you're able to do these prompts with a bot that already understands the brand, which is what we do for every one of our clients, you don't need to do a lot of that because it already has a deep understanding of the brand and the way that you need to use it.
I think that makes a big difference, yeah. I've also found that if you're breaking the image generation into steps and into new chats and almost pulling it from, so I'm trying to give an example. So if you, just like breaking out, say you're trying to generate a model with the product, like separating it into steps. So like generating the individual, then the way they're holding the product, and then just like fine tuning the image over time almost. Seems to be getting better output or more precise output, which is interesting. But I think that'll condense. It'll be able to just do it in one go.
Exactly. I think this is just going to get better and better naturally.
It's kind of scary.
I think one thing that it isn't good at yet, because I've been trying it on lots of different types of products, niches, verticals, is apparel and clothing. Because I just think, again, like a lot of clothing designs have text within them and it struggles to recreate the exact design that is within that piece of clothing. If you then were, say, to put that onto a model, it's much easier to do that with a product, a physical product.
Interesting. I haven't tried it with fashion. I also think that's an industry, again, where taste and like it will unlock another level of like product photography and product shoots, and a lot of the on-site flat lays, I imagine it'll just be able to generate them from an image, like a photo, eventually. But it is kind of crazy, like that just dropped on a normal Tuesday and completely changed the way that you think about static ads. I think you said like static saturation is gonna be a big thing. I think like
that's where my head just went instantly. Because again, like we had an edge of like, we have really talented designers that can create great assets, but now it almost puts everyone, well, not completely, but to some degree it closes the gap, and there's like this equal playing field of comes way more about what are those emotional triggers, what language are we using, and that's what the game is going to become rather than the design itself.
Yeah, the angle, the message, and the USPs, and like how you can position the product related to like the psychological desires of the people that are looking to purchase it. I think that copywriting element's still a big thing.
And hierarchy as well, which is one thing a lot of people don't think about with static ads. If we're looking at a creative that is focused around, let's say, more product aware within the funnel, you want to have your headline, you then want to go into benefits below, product, and then you've got your PR at the bottom or your reviews at the bottom, your kind of 5-star reviews social at the bottom. So it's your eyes need to map from top to bottom. So you need to see the headline first and work your way down.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's a good point. I think it'll just I think it obviously is going to allow people to create more statics. I do think they're the least, most of the time, like the least incremental ad, and like it's not quite like in terms of net new customer growth. And for most brands, I think some niches obviously book that trend. Just like, when is it going to take? When are they going to bring out video? And how good is that going to be? I think that's like,
it's just overwhelming, isn't it? Because it's just like everything changes like every month, and then it's like everyone's just scrambling.
yeah. Another thing that's dropped kind of quietly in the background, or not quietly, I guess, depends how close you are to like Meta and their company updates, is like their shift in algorithm towards this. I always forget names when I'm talking about things. I want to say Andromeda, but I feel like that's wrong, but it might not be. They've shifted, and it kind of quietly happened in Q4, but it's like been rolling out more and more to this like even more AI-based algorithm, focused on like volume of creative inputs and individualistic moving from like an aggregate algorithm to focusing on individual level taste and preference, and that driving the delivery of assets.
Interesting.
So every interaction where you used to be like building like a lookalike audience and you'd serve them a type of ad, it's moved to an individual level understanding of your taste, your preference. And the idea that as brands focus more on content diversity and you deliver more inputs to that process, Facebook is able to deliver to a wider range of individual tastes because you're feeding it more inputs. And it's kind of shifted more towards that. And I might have butchered some of that explanation, but and I think that flips that focus onto volume, variety of content, and that being like the name of the game now.
It's so true, because if you think about like you're targeting a specific persona, that doesn't mean that persona is going to consume information in the same way as someone that's similar to them in terms of their interests, problems, etc. Whereas if you are taking similar messaging for the same persona and delivering that in lots of different ways, you're likely to be able to get in front of the right people that prefer consumption of information in one way versus another.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like so key. Like people have just differing tastes. Like you might buy from a video ad, I might buy more from a single image. Like, why is that? Maybe that's something like you can think about, like preference for consumption, or maybe someone who requires a video ad to sell them like needs more trust building as like a generalization of those people versus someone who just reads an ad and is like, I'm going to buy. So I think you've got to look at like creative output as like multiple different matrices, like format. So the video, GIF, render, carousels, like covering all bases from a format perspective, covering as many bases from a messaging perspective. Then you're looking at like the people in the assets, resonance from an age perspective. And that just feels like where we're heading. Like,
yeah,
using AI to drive cost per asset down whilst covering more and more bases from a variety perspective, and that's feeding Meta with what it wants, and that enables you to unlock the greatest reach and the greatest new customer volume for your brand.
Yeah, 100%. I think the other side to Meta to keep a close eye on is how, and I know it's shit right now, but just using their AI functions to actually iterate on creative that's already in the ads manager.
Yeah, I think that'll get there. 100%.
I think that's going to get really scarily good.
Yeah, it will do. If it'll they've just pushed it out they've just pushed into WhatsApp bottom corner. Have you seen the AI thing they've just rolled out literally the other day? Like they will be training that model on ads that take the most spend in accounts, or like that's like a really simplistic way, but they'll be training it in so many ways that we're not aware of, and they're not like sharing with advertisers. But it will become amazing at like direct response creative like very quickly, I think. And it's just a matter of time until they push probably that image piece into the ad account, and you're just able to just.
That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine what ChatGPT have now done. The tech is now there to be able to just do that within Ads Manager.
Yeah.
A media buyer just giving a prompt, it creates an iteration, and within not even coming out of Ads Manager, you're now running this iteration of the creative.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it'll be interesting to see how that like develops and when that comes to. I think the same with video, like being able to just chop and change video assets really quickly, and it'll probably get directional in the way that it tells you to do that as well, and then improve over time.
Just this like law of accelerated returns with AI is just fucking bonkers. I just I can't even think where we're going to be in 12 months.
No,
which is just such a scary concept.
I think our industry is really like predisposed to feeling it very quickly as well, because everything is digitalized and data driven.
Exactly.
And therefore, when you've got the data, it's easier to direct train the AI, whereas like a lot of other industries which maybe you have to do like manual data collection, or like I don't know, I just feel like we're just predisposed to even faster disruptions. So it's really hard to even think about it. Also, why like it's hard to commit to building your own AI projects internally in a business. I know that's something we've been discussing, because it's like we've tried it a couple of times, and you can just get the bigger business just disrupts your like, just comes in and releases something that they've built that is better than what you were trying to build, and it just makes it obsolete. So it's like trying to, I think I said on our call the other day, it's like, and I saw it from, I think it was the CEO of Fermat said, like trying to build something where you meet the slope of advancement rather than the intercept of where we are in terms of sophistication now. And I think like it's hard to think through that problem. It's really complex, but it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, talking about volume and everything, let's maybe dive into this percentage of spend piece.
Yeah, I was going to segue from that. I think like that transition from Meta, another thing that Meta are bringing out is that like they're bringing out a few new placements around like WhatsApp ads, WhatsApp retargeting, which is interesting. I haven't seen one yet. I think it'll be America first. And they're also bringing out like a greater focus on like optimizing for incremental return, and ingesting like cogs of a business. So being able to optimize for like incremental profit at a campaign level, and having and Meta as an algorithm having cogs data all the way through to like contribution margin, which is going to be really interesting to see how effective that is. It's like another take. It's like a more advanced take on cost caps, I guess. So yeah, they're evolving the product probably more so than they ever have since iOS 14 in the next couple of months. But with that change to creative volume, I think like we've been discussing it for a while, and I think like we've seen it coming. Like we've seen from the create clients where we're getting that like outsized return and that really consistent growth. That creative diversity and volume is the main driver of that. So we've started to try and shift towards that, haven't we? In terms of building an offer that is like perfectly incentive aligned for those businesses and allows us to get that incentive alignment with our goals and their goals.
Yeah. And off to a pretty blinding start, if I must say so myself.
Well, you're driven by your ads. You've got back behind the camera.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. I think it's like, I just think the more you step away and become disconnected from just the trenches of just creation of ads, there's just nothing better than just occasionally just stepping back in fully and just immersing yourself in it again, because it's the best way just to again just be finger on the pulse with it. But yeah, essentially like the brand that we've started running this on, our first batch of creative, they had a record day within I think 4 days of launching the assets. So did about 200K in a day. And essentially like we just went hell to leather on iterations of the net new assets. So whereas before it was like kind of, this net 30 days delivering new assets, taking those same amount of net new concepts, but just doing way more variations of them. And we saw that massively unlock growth. So, you know, for example, we would do like 6 to 10 hook variations per concept, but then also do 6+ body variations where we would lengthen or shorten the body. We might bring in soft CTAs earlier in the creative, or the solution earlier within that creative. And again, just essentially throwing as much as we can at the wall within that strategy to drive the best possible outcome.
Yeah, I think, and it's just flown on like batch 1. It's exciting to see where that's going to go over the next few batches as well. I think, that volume, like we're just feeding as much volume into the ad account. I almost see it as like linear. Every 100 to 150k of spend takes X amount of assets to drive that growth usually, or that's what we're finding. It varies by business and it varies by hit rate, but just that volume game is where we're moving to across all formats.
And I think just one thing I want to touch on was just like all of the best performers of this batch were driven by organic insights, almost every single one. You know, in terms of our research process, we go very deep into obviously audience research using tools like Reddit, Google articles, etc. We then obviously do social research, which has become really fruitful within this first batch. We do competitor research, and I think wanted to just quickly touch on this one specific creative, the outlier within the whole campaign, which I think within the first 6-7 days of running, it's spent about 40k and generated, I think, around 120k of revenue. And the reason I want to talk about this is because this is a new organic process that I've been using that is working incredibly well. So essentially, let's say we are doing our organic research. We'll be looking at organic. We'll be looking at competitors' top performing organic videos. So that is based on views, engagement rate. We'll be looking at typing in the keywords around the problem, the solution, the actual product itself. So let's say it was electrolytes, typing in electrolytes, sorting by top viewed creative. And essentially what we did with this example is there was one creative that we found, it was around collagen, and we took the this video of a guy who's he's like a health expert, but his name's Tonic Health, goes into supermarkets and talks about things on the products on the shelf. Yeah, and this video he's talking about these 2 collagens and which one you should get and why. And it's essentially just an us versus them, but just in a different format, a different way of presenting an us versus them. Very organic feel, and it had done very, very well organically. So essentially the process that I did through this was I took this video, I downloaded it, uploaded it to Google AI Studios, which currently I think is the only LLM that is able to read video and hypothesize on video, which is kind of is weird, to be honest. That is the only LLM that you can do that with. But
you can ask it to like analyze all the video and think about. It can also watch your screen, which I think is really interesting. Really cool.
It's great. I use it all the time. But sorry, can you say something?
I was just going to say some of the Google AI advancements recently in terms of imagery and video has been pretty crazy as well. And they've like, sorry to segue, but like when we're speaking about Meta's AI, when we're speaking about them, it's like we haven't seen their like big hand yet. And I feel like they've both got so many videos, so much like video on YouTube, like so much context to feed a model. It's just interesting to think where they're going to come from. But just segue, carry on.
So essentially we've got this organic video. We've got to make sure there's social proof attached to the video that we're taking. Downloaded that video, uploaded it into Google AI Studios. And then I've just been really playing with building this prompt over the last couple of weeks, a few prompts. The first one is essentially pulling and creating a table-based framework from that organic video. So that essentially hypothesizes each of the frames, why it works, if there's any nuances to what they've done, anything that's dynamic on screen that is worth noting, and it will break it into into sections. The first is framework section, so that's like, you know, is it a hook, is it product reveal, solution, etc. Script breakdown, visual descriptions, shot types, and audio. So what are we seeing? Is it creator talking, voiceover, just music? So it builds it into this perfect framework table for us whilst hypothesizing why it has worked. Essentially then, and we're going to, by the way, provide this whole prompt for you within the comments, so make sure you comment down below. We then take the table that it creates for us and put that straight into our ChatGPT bot, which essentially is within a new prompt that we create. So the breakdown of this prompt is: you are a top tier D2C performance creative strategist. Your task is to take the framework or script of the below organic video that went viral and recreate it for brand/product while preserving the same high converting structure, pacing, etc., etc. Then you've got to paste in the framework that we've just created in Google AI Studio and details on what the angle that we want to be focusing on, what the product is. Obviously, again, we're going to be providing you this prompt, and it created for me a near perfect script, which is so rare. It doesn't happen all the time. And I then took that, put it into our brief for the UGC creator, tweaked a few bits, because again, it's never going to be perfect, but it was probably 80% there. And that creative itself, it had all of the visual descriptions modeled from this other organic video, and it's become now the top spender across all of their SKUs. And we didn't do this for just one. We did this for multiple of their creatives. And obviously we are adding in nuances, we're changing elements, but I can't recommend enough tapping into organic, because these very authentic, more raw creatives that are almost been stress tested organically, that aren't being tested yet through paid, are so impactful. And what most brands are doing is they're just looking at their direct competitors and copying or taking inspiration from what they're doing. But there's a real opportunity here through organic, and it's never been easier through using this prompting structure.
It's interesting. Like, I saw a tweet on this. It was like, someone creates amazing organic content, agencies get the content, recreate it in paid, organic content becomes oversaturated, loop repeats itself. It's like, it's fun. I've been consuming a lot more organic content for ideation as well. I think I've sent you a couple. I saw a Mother's Day one the other day of a guy in Tesco basically rinsing how average getting a Mother's Day card and some flowers is, and then use that as a hook to transition into the product solution concepts. And I think that whole organic algorithm shift to like just serving the best possible content and that being like the driver of reach on there, it's like, it's those videos that have reached the top of those organic algorithms have already almost gone through a filter of performance and like whether they're strong assets, whether they've got strong frameworks. So when you take them to paid, all you're doing is recreating it for the product and giving it more distribution than it had before. It's just so likely to work. That's why I think you can use like TikTok Shop as a really good area.
That's a great place for research as well, as I said.
That's why I still think every brand should be using TikTok Shop, regardless of whether you think you're going to get success from an orders perspective. I think it's just amazing for like creativity and injecting loads of ideas into your creative process for very little cost. And yeah, there's a fragrance one going around at the moment where loads of people are, and the funny thing is, as soon as someone drives loads of revenue for a brand through a concept on TikTok Shop, loads of people just copy it. So, and one of them is this guy recording a YouTube video. The one I saw was, I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but it's a YouTuber, and he's like, XY, I never knew how XYZ managed to get with this girl, but now I know. He put his fragrance in the comments. He's like, he's put his fragrance in his free game in the description of the video, and it's like, I'm wearing this fragrance name, but all he's done is change, the guy in the video has changed that on the inspect element.
I did see this.
And I've seen about 15 of them, and it's just crushing, and it's like, it's so native. And just so engaging because it's using like a famous person as the hook, And I just think it's really good.
Compliance disaster though. Some of these, it's just so cowboy, isn't it?
You couldn't take that.
Techniques.
That's the thing. You couldn't take a lot of them for big brands or like over to Facebook. That's a bad example for that. But yeah,
I think these grey hat marketers are just. I know this is so controversial, but I just think some of them are just incredibly talented at just getting attention.
Yeah, they are. And I think it's also really, I feel like a lot of those organic concepts they often operate more in that like problem and unaware phase, and they're really good at capturing broad attention rather than being like really product focused and really formulaic, like more D2C direct response creative.
It has to be, because TikTok Shop is more top of funnel, isn't it? Like it's rare that you'll see a creative that introduces the solution within the first 30 seconds.
And I think that's like the area that brands struggle with the most, is like how to generate creative in that unaware, how to bring new customers into market for their products. You have like a fundamental desire or a fundamental problem that they're not aware they need to solve yet. And I think that's where that whole like unaware stage is like where you can use organic to just drive so many ideas.
Yeah, especially that like problem aware and unaware. That used, like probably a year ago, if you had a creative that introduced the solution past 10 seconds, it would flop.
Yeah.
Like, it's genuinely that batch that we did, all of the top performers probably don't introduce the solution until at least 15 seconds, some of them 30 seconds in. And that was unheard of on Meta previously. Like, I would remember drilling into our strategists, if we can't see the product or we haven't announce the solution within 5 seconds, like, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think that's again that change. I think Meta's algorithms become better at delivering that creative, which is interesting. And I think organic is going to become more important. It already is important, but I think like that the ability to use it to test ideas and the ability for it to take the weight off paid is still just like so valuable if you can do it well, and so many brands don't do it well.
Yeah,
so many.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really in this like difficult phase of I'm trying to get off my phone and get off social media more, because it's just, but then it's my job, and it's where the best ideas come from in many ways. Because I listened to this podcast about this, like, have you heard of the dose concept? This is a complete detour, but it's essentially dopamine, oxytocin, fucking hell.
That one.
You know the one I mean. Serotonin and endorphins.
Yeah.
And it was really eye-opening. It was talking about like how when you wake up in the mornings, the first thing you do, roll over and go on your phone every single morning?
Most mornings, more than I'd like to,
Yeah, and I realised I did that every single day. Like, for probably 5 minutes, I would just scroll on my phone. And what that is it's you waking up and looking for that like quick fix dopamine, because you get dopamine instantly from that, which essentially means that your dopamine within the day like flatlines. So it's much harder for you to get that same dopamine spike. So what he says is you have to earn that dopamine in better ways, such as going on a walk, just getting ready and having a shower. And you shouldn't even touch your phone until you have earned dopamine naturally. And it really helps with things like energy levels, etc. So like, he's got this thing of like phone fasting of 30 minutes every morning, 60 minutes before bed, and then at least 2 hours on Saturdays and Sundays. And that really helps regulate your dopamine levels. So I'm going through that journey at the moment.
You need to send me the podcast.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It was like eye-opening, because I'm really bad for that. And I know from being with you for a month in South Africa, I know you are as well.
I'm pretty bad as well. Did you see that just on the Twitter viral trends? Did you see that morning routine that went mega viral?
Oh my God, don't. I hate to be that person, but this guy, Eddie, is it Eddie Hall? Something like that. Ashton Hill, that's it. He's been coming up on my algorithm for like the last year.
Yeah.
And I just felt, I've like, even though it was ridiculous, it is fascinating.
It's the ASMR element that I like. I just find it funny to watch, but it's just, I saw it a while back, but and he's been posting them for like so long. His feed is just full of that content, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's like gone mega viral.
And you see the water brand,
yes.
the premium water brand it's like search terms on Google of it's just they've absolutely blown up.
Everyone was bashing them for not taking advantage of the moment on Twitter, which is like, it's like,
I guess it's twofold. Like, as a premium brand, is that the move, or is the move to almost like play it cool and stay in your lane?
It's difficult because I think leaning in has more risk, because if you get it wrong, you kill the moment. Like, you almost, like, you could just ride it out, not lean into it, and like take the benefit and take the awareness and take the impact.
There's more awareness that's been built off them not reacting to it.
Yeah. And I think, if you lean into it and get that wrong, and it's a bit like cringy, because if they're not set up, there's a reason they're probably not doing that already, is because they've probably not got people in the business who are able to capitalize on that and execute on that. But
it comes back to like that whole brand strategy piece. Like, that might just not be their tone.
It's just interesting. Got served a bottle of it whilst I was in New York, and I was like,
did you? I've never seen that brand before.
I haven't over here. It's
Must
usually
be an American
Sampel,
brand.
isn't it? In the UK.
Sampel in the UK, exactly.
Anyway,
you adopting any of those parts of the morning routine then? The banana skin on the face was an interesting.
Really weird. I just love
loose.
I love how many no socks running as well. No, that's awful.
It was just funny, like the planner just on page one.
And the ice ball I kind of rate. I reckon like a little ice ball dunk like 3 or 4 times a day would be a real good reset, but where are you getting the ice ball from? Like every 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Just how there's this woman woman's hands that just just pass it to him occasionally. He's balling though.
Oh yeah,
can't take that away from him.
I think he's up to like 9, maybe 10. Well, he was at 9 million followers a couple of days ago, so he'll be over 10 million now.
I saw something like he's in the last month he's had like 1 billion views or something crazy.
Yeah, so he's like, everybody's rinsing him, but he's absolutely finessed the game there. Like,
yeah, massively.
So good.
Yeah. Anyway, just in other news, had completely on the opposite end of the spectrum to AI, and one thing AI will never be able to replicate: community. So we had our first in-person Club Neuro event, meetup, whatever you want to call it, yesterday, and I think what was really interesting from what I've now seen people talking about in the community, like just the power of doing those events and the power of like human connection, especially in terms of like building that golden cohort. And honestly, like the conversation, I couldn't make the day myself, but the conversations that were being had on the day around the brand and the mission, and people were aligned, and people just coming with like ideas, like you should try this. Yeah. Like it's, and doing that and bringing these people together that have a similar mentality. It's there to serve them and give them some form of value, to meet people that are like them, find their tribe. Like I just think it's so ROI positive. It costs nothing to do because it was more just like a meetup. And I know a lot of brands that obviously are leaning quite heavily into this to help build community in that IRL way. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, how many people did you have there? What was it?
I think there was around 40. Nice. It was like 55 tickets. It was in collaboration with Ellie Mids, who is a ADHD and autism author. So we kind of co-collabed, and it was a great way to get in front of her audience as well. But yeah, it was really positive, and I'm excited to do more of them. Definitely aligns with like the space that we're tapping into.
Yeah, definitely. I think like you're a perfect example of a brand that has that naturally built into like the identity of the business, which I think is cool. I think it's interesting to think through that like diversity of content piece, and like thinking about content creators and part of your custom, like how you. I feel like one thing's like the brands that can get the most out of the customers from a content distribution and like an input perspective, I think they have like quite a big advantage as you move towards that kind of that being like the setup for success in e-com almost, because I feel like having that volume of other people marketing your products and producing content around the products is probably something that's quite hard to replicate.
Yeah.
But what was some of the best ideas that came out of it?
More just around, ideas within the private community that we could do that they would like to see, if, how things they would like to see as part of the events in future. So we're essentially going to we've got it's ADHD month in October. We're going to build a massive activation around that month, and with an in-person event with loads of speakers, and do a big drop that aligns with that specific month. So had loads of ideas just around best ways to do events for neurodivergent people, which was really interesting.
I saw the D. Louise and Pure Sport run. Did you see that as well, where they had 1,000 women come out for the
that's wild.
So
it's
crazy.
A great example of those collabs.
They killed it with that. Which those are two brands operating in just such different spaces, but such a great piece. I think what Jack and Olivia are doing over at D. Louise is cool. They're doing a lot of founder marketing through the lens of events and through the lens of offline activation. I believe they're currently doing a walk from London to Cardiff.
Yeah, they did that before, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they've done it a couple of times, but it's just an interesting way to get it's obviously content. They're doing it for charity, PR, giving people reasons to talk about the business outside of just that. Outside of just the product and the marketing, I think is really cool, really interesting.
Yeah,
I think they're doing a lot of cool stuff in that space.
Yeah, it's how you can tie those activations into content as well that has viral potential, because something like that does, which I think it makes it interesting.
Yeah. Did you see Poppy sold to?
Yeah, that's
Pepsi?
wild.
Pepsi for $2 billion as well, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
And I think they came after Olipop. Olipop was the first prebiotic soda, I think, and then Poppy. And I could be wrong there. And
it's a cool brand.
Really cool, really cool. I was reading about the founder, just $2 billion is nuts. The size of the US market.
Did they have much funding?
I don't know. I should have done that research before I brought them up. But yeah, that's a big acquisition. Following Wild deodorant, which we spoke about a few months ago.
Yeah, this is unicorn level. Just looking at I can't find it. But anyway, I think that's the pod today.
Yeah. Good to be in a new studio.
New mentality.
We've got some good guests coming up as well.
Yeah. Anything we can announce?
We've got Liam from 4U coming on to talk about TikTok, unlocking TikTok as an acquisition channel for brands. We've got Surrey Toothbrush coming on. But yeah, many more to come. Excited.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, remember, comment down below, prompt, and make sure you're subscribed, and we will send you the prompt list from the process that I just ran through there, alongside a video that shows you how to use it properly. But yeah, we will see you on the next episode.